Let me know where you're watching from. Okay, cool, guys. All right, good morning to you, or whatever time it might be in your part of the world. We got Mikael from Norway. We got people from Scotland. We got Sandy from Canada. We got Hudson. Let us know where you're watching from as well. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know where you're watching from. I got something cool planned for you today. I'm going to start going live. This is kind of a big announcement. I'm going to start going live and or posting a new YouTube video every single week. I haven't decided on the schedule yet, but once I know it, I'll let you know exactly when that's going to be. But hey, Allison, what's going on? So now, with that being said, once I know the exact schedule for the live sessions, I'll post them out there because I'm going to start doing this on a weekly basis. At the moment, I'm just going to teach you guys some stuff, and I'm going to teach you I'm going to teach you the number one reason why people sound super boxy when they play the pentatonics today, all right? This could be a review for some of you, which is also great. It's also going to be just enlightening just in general, all right? So I'm going to make sure you guys kind of have the ins and outs of what's going on here, and we're going to talk about the number one reason people sound boxy. So I have some notes here. I'm going to go through these together before I get started. Now, this is a limited release. I have a free Fretboard ebook, all right, Fretboard Freedom ebook that is in the description below, all right. I only have 50 of these available, okay? I'm taking it down after 50 downloads. If you're on my list, email list, you already got it, so you don't need to download that and opt in again. If you're not, go ahead and grab that ebook. I'm limiting it to 50 right now, okay? So get that right now. As soon as 50 downloaded, I'm taking it off, all right? So grab that right now. It's an awesome resource with a ton of great material in it, all right? And we're going to start going over some of this on a weekly basis, okay? So make sure you grab that stuff. Hudson, Lee Summit, okay. Thanks from Denver. So make sure you grab that. Once again, if you're on my list, you're good. You're already going to get it. If you didn't get it, let me know in an email back. I don't spam anybody. Ask anybody that's in my group. They know. So let's talk about this. I'm going to go through some stuff right here, all right? So welcome. Make sure you have your guitar, everything you need. My name is Brett Blakemore. I help intermediate guitar players break through the next level. I've been teaching guitar and playing gigs professionally for over 25 years. So I've helped thousands of people improve their guitar playing. I currently run a couple online programs that neither one are open for enrollment at the moment. But that's why I'm here, to kind of help you guys out. So with that being said, this is kind of part one in this series here, all right? We're going to see where this goes, see how many people start showing up. So make sure you grab your guitar, and I'm going to go through this. So if you see me look away from the camera a little bit, it's because I'm organized today. I know what I'm doing, all right? Let's talk about what sounding boxy means, all right? So let's just talk about that. Most players usually learn one, maybe two shapes, all right? Usually the first box and the second box, all right? I don't love calling them box 1, 2, and 3 because immediately by saying box, you're going to feel like you're stuck in a box. So that's kind of revelation one here, right? I think it's more important to decide what chord shape each of these scales outline, all right? And that's something for a cage discussion, but we won't talk about that today, all right? So like I said, most players, the reason they sound boxy to begin with is because they're thinking of them as boxes, all right? We can't think of them as boxes. We need to eventually be able to see the fretboard as just one big scale, one big pentatonic scale. This is what piano players do. Piano players aren't locked in a box. They're looking at it, and it's all right there, right? We need to be able to think in that way, all right? I'm going to see if I can get my volume right a little bit better here. Check, 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 check. Yeah, I'm going to get this up just a little bit. Check, check. Okay, so with that being said, the Boxy solo, all right? I'll just use this little progression I had at the beginning, which was a C add 9, a D right here, and an E minor 7th. This is like a C. I just take the C shape up, and I go to this D right here, and that makes it kind of like a D, kind of, what would it be? It would be kind of like a D add 9, which is a cool sound if you're in the key of E minor. So most people sound boxy. First reason why, because they're thinking them as boxes. We don't want to think of it that way. So if I'm sitting here going box 1, all right, which is the first thing in the ebook, right? So make sure you get that. There's only 50 of them for download. I'm limiting it this time. All right, so if I just sit here, it doesn't sound bad, but like I'm in one box and I'm thinking only one box. So here's the problem with thinking that way is it's like most people when they're at the intermediate level and you can get to this point where you're like, it's like, all right, well, great, you're making music. So that's like step 1. That's great. Out of box 1 of that E minor pentatonic, which is bad thinking of in boxes in general, but I just did it, so there we go. But here's the deal is like, you can't just sit there in that one box, all right? And you don't need to play from the get-go and just make a steady stream of notes. This is one thing that I see people do all the time is like the second I say, play a little solo over this, they just start playing up and down the neck and practicing the scale. Well, once you know the scale, it's time to be creative, all right? So no more thinking of them as boxes, even though I'm going to refer to them as boxes a little bit here. So it's a conundrum in general because we're not going to have time to go over all the caged versions of this. Which is something I do teach. So here's the deal. So we've got one box going, right? We don't want to think of them as boxes, but we kind of have to today. I get that whole idea. So let's talk about why it sounds mechanical. So 3 reasons why it's always sounding mechanical when you start in one section of the scale, all right? I'm going to have trouble not saying box now. Always starting and ending on root notes, right? Well, that's good because that's the key you're in. But if you always start on the root note, it's going to sound the same every time you start. So step 1 to sounding less boxy would be start somewhere else within the scale. You don't have to start on the root. It's great to end on the root, especially if you're just trying to start making some music, right? So then you're talking about you've got linear movement up and down, right? So you're just going like this up and down, but you're not really doing anything cool with it, right? So you're just kind of playing a steady stream of notes. That's the reason 2. So reason 1, you're always starting on the root note. That's immediately going to make you sound boxy. Reason 2, you're just doing a steady stream of notes, kind of just linear stuff, and it feels like the more you move, the more creative you're being. Not really true. And then third reason that we've got here is you've got no phrasing and you're not connecting any chords, okay? There's no phrasing. That's the biggest thing, right? So if we learn box 1 and box 2, I said it again, but you kind of have to get there. Scale 1 and scale 2 out of this E minor and then out of this one up, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second and how it relates to the ebook there. Then you got to start connecting them and trying to land on some chord tones. And the best way to do this is maybe to just start by ear and see what you can get happening. But playing less is always going to be more, all right? You've got to play less, all right? Less is more, less is more, less is more. Keep that in your head. You're not getting paid to play a steady stream of notes. You want to play based on what sounds nice, what's adding to the song, all right? And this will make you sound less mechanical and less boxy. Less is more. You don't have to start right as the downbeat starts, all right? So we've also got kind of so that's the big 3 things there to starting. All right, sorry. So you've got to think, you don't want to always start on the root note. 2, you don't want to just do a steady stream of notes, like even though you feel like you're doing something because you're moving around. All right, too many notes. And then 3, no phrasing. You're not connecting any chords, and that's going to be a problem. All right, so we have to think about a mindset shift here. What's our mindset shift? You don't need new scales. Of course, you need to know for sure all 5 pentatonic scales, but you can start with the first 2, all right? Even if you think you know all 5, you probably don't know them as well as you need to, because I've been playing guitar for 30 years. Tuesday was my birthday. It would have been 30 years, right? I've been playing guitar since I was 13. I'm 43. There I go. I said it. So like, look, you've got to, you can get a lot done with just 2 pentatonic scales, all right? And I still practice all 5 shapes because some shapes are more comfortable than others. So no matter how well you think you know them, you probably don't quite know them well enough, all right? Because it's a lifelong journey, all right? So you don't need new scales. You just need to get better at 1 or 2 of them at this point and then move up the neck to the others, all right? So thank you. And then, you need to know how to use what you already know, right? So for lack of a better way of saying it, this first shape and this second shape, box 1 or box 2, right? We're trying to get outside of this box, all right? So what we want to do is you want to start playing from chord tones rather than just running the scale. Those are going to be the notes that sound the best, all right? So the idea, each box hides kind of target notes, all right? So if you're just thinking about like C and D and E minor, right? This pentatonic scale, it's got target notes within it, all right? We're not going to get too deep into that today, all right? This will be something for a later date or maybe a course down the road, all right? And I teach this stuff all the time in my online community. And so here's the deal. You got to start thinking chords, all right? This is a mindset shift. Start thinking chords, all right? All right, so step 1 of sounding less boxy, use the E minor pentatonic, all right? And just this open thing. And just find a backing track like that's an E minor, simple one. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to play C, D, and E minor, all right? But what we're first trying to think about is this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this. So, all right, this is the announcement of the Fretboard Freedom ebook becoming available. All right, so this is absolutely free. Link is in the description. So what you have to do is grab it. Like I said, I'm only allowing 50 downloads, right? If you're on my email list, you already got it, or you will get it because it didn't come through. So there's all kinds of great stuff in here. All this stuff is really nice. But what we're talking about today is pattern. I like to think of these more as patterns as opposed to boxes, all right? Couldn't think that term earlier. It's early in the morning for a musician here, even though I've been up. So we've got this pattern right here. This is the first thing I'm playing over this E minor. This is all in the ebook. And what I just did was what you don't want to do because that's how you're going to sound boxy. But you can practice it up and down in that way. So we got 0, 3, 0, 2. You can play all this yourself, right? So 0, and I would say you need to practice it alternate picking. And then think about starting not on the root. Start on that 5th string and go. Right? Don't always start your scale on the root because that will make you sound boxy immediately. And don't always start right on the downbeat when someone's telling you to take a solo, all right? It's kind of considered the holy grail. I'm not going to read all this. But then our next shape right here, all right, pattern 2, this is the next one, all right? We're only dealing with 2 shapes this week. Right? So this is E minor. It doesn't start on an E minor. It starts on a G. So immediately right there, it's not starting on the root. Now, I will say this, and when it comes to, when it comes to soloing or improvising, if I start down here and I linger on the 6th, 5th, and 4th string, it just doesn't sound good because it's not cutting through the mix. So immediately, you can eliminate the 6th and the 5th string for this purpose of this exercise. So, right, like if I sit down here and go. You're not really cutting through. Now, those are notes where you can start down there and kind of weave up, but you don't want to like linger on that 6th and the 5th string, especially at the stages where you're trying to get to where you're sounding more melodic, less mechanical, and way less boxy. All right, so you've got to get pattern 1 down. I just showed you a second ago. Pattern 2 right here. Alternate picking. All right, right, and then if you take that progression. C, D, E minor, right? So we want to try to outline those. The simplest way to do it is to say on the C, we're going to start on, let's say, this E, which happens to be the root of our scale, all right? Because that's the 3rd of C. we get to the D, let's just go to the D, that 3rd fret 2nd string. And when we get back to the E minor, we're going to go back to that E, all right? So I know I said don't start on the E or the root as you start the solo, but in this case, we're not starting on that chord. We're starting on a C, and that C, the 3rd of that, is that E, which happens to be the root of our scale. So we're going to go, you're trying to target E, G, or D, and back to E, but you have notes in between, all right? So a couple things you can do here is you've got to be able to kind of weave up and down this scale. You've got to be able to weave up and down this scale, but without sounding boxy, all right? So I'm giving you a couple of good tips right there. Then the next thing is, thanks Sandy, thanks Allison. the next thing is, let's just make sure you know a little lick to make this happen, all right? So my fancy zooming machine here. Oh, wait, just kidding. It's my hand. So look, all I'm doing is this, all right? So you've got to have some licks to play, right? Now this particular lick starts on the downbeat. You don't always have to do that. So you got... Now, you don't need to play that whole bit. You could just play just this. But that didn't sound boxy at all because I just went... So let's just learn this lick. I'm not big on teaching licks, but when it comes to sounding less boxy and more musical, you've got to be able to borrow some licks from guitar players you like. I don't know who I originally borrowed this from, but I incorporated it into my playing, wrote it out for you guys, and take it. Make sure you get that ebook below. Remember, only 50 of them available. So 0, 2, that's your E minor pentatonic is all this is. Pattern 1, so 0, 2, 0, 2, so 0, 2 on the 4th. 0, 2 on the 3rd, immediately slide to 4, 3, 5, pull off, 5, pull off, 5 to 3, no pull off, little quarter step bend on that G 1st string, and vibrato right here. Now, there's a couple things happening here that made this immediately sound less boxy, all right? So I'm going to play this with the recording again. I would have played again because it sounded good. Add a little extra. Now I can even stop short, right? I could go. Now I'm in 2 boxes, but I'm going to call them pattern 1 and 2. And what's making this sound less boxy right now? There's a couple things. One, I know my scales really well. I know what sounds musical, and I kind of borrowed some chord tones there just out of sheer coincidence. But what I'm also doing is using articulations, and I'm using like things that make it sound really nice, like hammer-ons, pull-offs, techniques. I couldn't think of the word, right? So I'm using these techniques to make this kind of sound way more musical. So I'm going 0, 2, it's just plucking it. 0, 2, but it's a slide. Right? So if I come back here and we look at this, right? It's just classic rock bluesy stuff, right? So we've got, so check this out. We've got pattern 1 into pattern 2. So this first measure, 0, 2, 0, 2, all pattern 1. Now I'm into pattern 3 as soon as I slide to fret forward. And I finish in pattern 2. We're only dealing with 2 patterns. All right, so pattern 1 into 2, shape 1 into 2, however you want to think of it. Just don't think of it as boxes. So you got to have this one down, you got to have this one down, and then you got to start making it musical. The only way to make it musical is to think, play less. Less is more. When something sounds good, repeat that set of notes, and then maybe add something to it. So what am I doing to make this sound really musical, even though I said don't maybe start right on the downbeat? I'm adding slides. All right, I'm using hammer-ons, little bends, and vibrato, okay? So let's say I play this lick and I don't add any of that. It doesn't sound bad, right? If I go, right? So there's an example of saying, oh, like, you could play that right now as an intermediate guitar player and probably get by with it at a gig or at a jam session. But like, right? You just sound like you're at the beginner stages. So how do we, and I'm not saying beginner stages in general, just beginner stages of like improvising and stuff like that. So like, you could think of it as that way, Sandy, but like, right? So what I'm thinking is you've got to be able to articulate these things, add cool techniques. So like, even if I just started right here, it's not going to let me highlight it. Even if I just started right here, 2 to 4, 3, and then I did 5, 3 right here, and I just went, it sounds pretty good. Watch. Right? So all I'm doing is little simple movements to make this sound more musical. If you don't add slides, bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, at least in some capacity, it's not going to have as much soul to it, okay? So this is exactly what's happening here. You need enough soul built into this. Now, how do you get the soul? Some people would say, oh, it's built in. Some people would say you're either born with it or you're not. I can tell you right now, I was not born with it. All right, so you can learn this stuff, but what you have to do is learn from those before you or take advice from some guy like me, right? So I'm taking stuff. What is the count, Brett? Okay, yeah, I'll just show you that in a second. So like, if you see, you can see kind of the count right here, but you've got to be able to kind of feel this stuff out. You have, if you're trying to sound like a country player or you're trying to sound like a blues player or a rock player, you kind of have to engulf yourself in that genre, really listen, and then go learn that stuff. This is kind of just a bluesy / rock lick, but it could be used in country as well. But like, all I'm doing is thinking slides, right? I don't want to sit here and go. The biggest way that you can sound less amateur or more amateur is to say, all right, solo, Allison, and you go. Right? It doesn't sound bad, but you can say way more with way less, and I'll get into that counting in a second. So if I play this lick and I go, right, I could shorten that and just do. See, now I kind of built some tension by not landing on the root. All right. So like, as far as the count goes, I'm just kind of altering this and choosing to shorten the lick. I gave you a full 2 measures worth of lick to learn, but you could leave off these first couple notes and just start here and then land on a root, or just start here and just land on the third and don't bend it, right? You have to be creative with this. This is the big thing that you can think about. So look, if I go right here and I count this out, it'd be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Simple. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Right? You can't see my right hand, which is kind of not good, but it's like, right? So like, if I zoom out a little bit, if you get this right hand in here, watch, I'm alternate picking some of this as well. You could do, if I do all down strums here, this is why you have to practice these scales, alternate picking. If I just do all down strums, I sound boxy even on this kind of cool lick. So, but if I can get this right with this right hand, this is really good. Down, up, slide, up. That's what I did. Down, up, slide, up, down, up. Well, just a down because I'm pulling off. Down, up, down. I'll break that down again because it's kind of cool. Because this could be, if you do this with the right picking pattern in your right hand, you'll get a lot out of it. So I'm going like down, up, slide, up. Down, up, slide, up, down, up, down. That's my right hand thing, all right? Down, up, slide, up, down, up. Right, where I didn't say up, those are the spots where I did the pull-offs. Okay, so down, up, slide, up, down, pull off, down, pull off, down, up, down, down. All right, and that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, just like that. Okay, so let me go back to my notes real quick because I'm gonna get on a tangent here, like I do. So back to what I was kind of saying. All right, so we've got some lick action there. And you can do that over E in any E minor thing. I just kind of added C, D to E minor. Okay. So with that being said, the next thing is like when you're making it sound musical. So what have we covered so far? We decided the number one problem, the problem, what Boxy really means. Boxy means starting and ending on root notes every single time. It's good to end on them, but you just don't want to start on them every time. Linear movement up and down, which to me means playing too many notes. No phrasing, all right? If you don't have any phrasing or connection to chords, you're kind of missing some steps here. We're not going to get big into the connecting to the chords thing today, but that'll be for another time. The mindset shift that you need, all right? You don't need new scales. You just need to get really good at the ones you already know better. I would start with pattern 1 and 2, all right? Chord tones rather than just running the scale. Don't start always on the downbeat. Don't start always on the root. All right. Each chord, here's the core thing to think about. Each box or pattern hides musical target notes that can connect the chords you're playing. All right. You just got to be able to find those. All right. So now this first step of, step 1, I said, if we're recapping, sounding less musical. Get good at pattern 1 or 2 or both, right? I used both of pattern 1 and 2 in the E minor, right? So we'll talk more about the chord tone thing, but you got to start thinking about chord tones. And then the big thing is adding bends, slides, vibratos, and create a melody. If it sounds good when you played it the first time, that means you need to play it again. I need a producer here. So, right? And then it says you need to repeat these things. So these are my notes anyways. So you need to repeat these things over and over again, right? So like if you have your guitar and you want to try something with me, try this. So like just do this, right? So I'll go back to this. I'm going to go back to this. This will be like one of our last thing, and then we'll do like a quick Q&A. Where's my stuff? Here it is. All right, so if we go, I'll answer that question here in a second. So like if you have your guitar handy, right? Let's just start right here. I'm starting with my middle finger. So open right here, 2 to 4, and then 3, and I'm going to go 5, 3, 5. So I'm going to go, I'm just really going to go 3 just to 5, and I'm going to stop and not play that. So 0, 2, 4, 3, 5. Watch. And repeat that again. I'll do that again. 2, 3. So I went 0, 2, 4, 3, 3, 5, and a hammer on. It's a little bit different than what's on the page. But if you go like this, right? And you can get that, you just got to repeat it, all right? So just repeat it. Try it with your guitar right now if you're ready. And then put it over the track. It's a little faster than that. So it sounds good, so I'm repeating it. 1, 2, 3. Then I add something simple to it. 2, 3. So these are all things you can do to kind of get outside of this box, right? So that's just like a little moment there where you can kind of practice with me once you get that, okay? So let me go back over here. I'm just enjoying teaching online here. So I'm doing it, right? So you could repeat or play along with that little moment, all right? Your mini assignment, try to make 3 short licks out of that one little lick. That's your assignment. 3 short licks out of that one little lick that I just showed you. Make it sound as musical as possible. Now, you can post this anywhere on your Facebook page, on a Facebook group if you're in the boot camp, or you can post it in the community if you're part of my private community, and I will respond and give you some feedback on that. If you post this on Instagram and tag Summit Guitar School, I will share it in my story. But I would love to hear from some of you guys as well as some people that I don't know as well as the ones that I do know. So recap or main takeaway, all right? This is where these are my notes that I have written down, okay? So you can sound musical inside one box if you think melody and less pattern, all right? I wrote this out like a week ago, so I'm having to reread it off. But if you think melody and less pattern and less box, all right? The steps that we covered today was we need to know our pattern 1 and 2 of the minor pentatonic, if not just 1, right? And don't think of them as boxes. Think of them as patterns, and eventually you want to think of them as chord shapes, and we'll get into that some other day, all right? And then we want to think slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, musical articulation. Repeat it twice or 3 times or 4 times. If it sounded good once, it's going to sound good again. Add to that. What's another thing you can do? Outline the chord changes. Like I said, we'll talk about that on a different day. And then the last thing is, keeping it simple. Repeat what sounds good. Don't play a steady stream of notes. Rest on beat 1. Let it breathe. You're not getting paid to play by the note, all right? You may not be getting paid at all, right? But I had someone tell me that at a gig once. Brett's getting paid like he's getting paid by each note. And immediately I thought, I need to play less notes, all right? So think of it that way. Less is more, all right? So what are we going to talk about in the next one next week, all right? We're going to continue this topic of sounding less boxy, all right? And by doing that, we're going to add a couple of other little things in here that will be really, really beneficial to your playing. So make sure you subscribe, like this, hit the little notification thing, because when I go live, you're going to want to know, all right? Because these are good lessons. They won't stay up forever. Also, make sure you get the free Fretboard Freedom ebook. There is a link below. I'm only allowing 50 downloads at this time because I want people to get this and actually get involved here. Okay, so call to action for you guys. Get to practicing, please. Get to working on your stuff. Comment your biggest takeaway down below. Subscribe and hit the bell for the next live session. And don't forget to download that ebook before I take it down. All right? So thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, I need to answer a couple questions before I get off. Start with your middle finger. If you guys have any questions, I totally forgot the Q&A thing. I'll answer a couple questions right now if you have something. So go ahead and drop it in. Trying to make that lick work. You just kind of get it. Like, I just know, Allison, that I don't want to, if I do my index finger, then I got to back up again and use index finger again. Right? So if I back up and I use my middle finger, for this particular lick, my index is ready to go. All right? I don't want to start with my ring. It just doesn't feel good to me. My middle finger just feels really coordinated in this position of this pattern. And the more you play, the more you'll find what works best for you. But this just makes sense guitar-wise to what I'm playing. 0-2, 0-2, slide. Right? Yeah, drop in your biggest takeaway in the comment section or in the chat. I don't know if this chat gets replayed, but how do you grow luxury? Yeah, apparently I'm shaving it off, Brad. Okay? And then I'm going to regrow it in November. Somebody said I look like Tom Selleck. I guess I took that as a compliment. So, yeah, starting with your middle finger. If there's no other comments or compliments from Brad Coleman, friend of mine, then we'll move on. And I will see you guys next week. All right, y'all. Cool. Well, come back next week. I'll let you know when that is. Once you get on that, once you get that 5 pillars, or not 5 pillars, once you get that Fretboard Freedom ebook, you'll be more in the know as when I'm going to go